it was my error that I didn't catch that on page 2 of that original resolution. We still had the old set of fees on page 2. So I was just looking to get that removed and then just have it corrected if possible.
So basically what I did is I took the original resolution that was drafted and approved and did an amendment to it. So as far as the motion to approve it, I would rather document in the minutes that you guys rescind 2502 that was originally done, and then approve 2502A as amended.
We did rescind 2502 that was approved and approve 2502 as presented.
Yep,
And I will make that
I
motion.
did it 2502A.
A.
Okay, 2502A.
Yep.
Second.
He said,
All in
"Give us
favor?
several that, but he's gonna."
Hold on.
Okay, zoning ordinance updates.
So the first one for updates is on page 92 of the Beacon County zoning ordinance. Anything that is highlighted, I'm sorry. Anything that is highlighted in yellow, is what I'm looking to have updated in the zoning ordinance. Just to align with the fee schedule that was just again approved. So just adding the floodplain fees in there, major and minor subdivision, occupancy permits, property / boundary line adjustment, solar, vacation tax amendments, and wind energy.
And this is updating the revised fees and
Just
everything.
to have everything in line. Previously, it didn't state everything that the fee schedule had originally, so I just felt we could have it in line.
So in the future, if we were to modify our fee schedule on anything, we would have to change this ordinance also along with it, right?
Is there a way to do without having
I'm
to
not
change your
sure if
ordinances?
we have to,
Hmm.
I just thought it would be better.
Let's double check on that. Can we double check with Sean maybe to see if we actually have,
I would hate to have to,
go back and amend every ordinance when we update a fee schedule?
yeah. I would think, if you referenced them in your ordinance here as to the actual Buchanan County fee schedule
Right.
and leave it at that. That way, as the fee schedule changes, you don't have to redo your ordinance. That would be my recommendation. I know how these things are a slippery slope that, comes a lot of paperwork.
Okay, I will check on that and then report back.
Very good.
Next one,
Discuss the WECS moratorium.
sorry, John, I have a couple more to go.
Oh, okay.
For those.
That's all right.
So these two do need to be updated, for sure. So the Planning and Zoning Commission had recommended to change the layout for the accessory structures. So, we're running into a lot of issues where 18 feet is not tall enough for these new accessory structures for the boats and the campers that are unfortunately being manufactured a lot higher. And then removing the 30% of the rear yard. That is something that also, if you drive through county, that's not always the case. So, just basically everything that is crossed out there in the middle, and then adding in, I should say, rephrasing it from an accessory building or structure which is not part of the main building shall not exceed 28 feet in height.
We're going from 18 feet to 28 feet.
That is correct.
And does this accommodate, the larger equipment that's out there now as well?
For accessory structures, yes. However, agricultural is kind of, they still can do what they want.
Okay,
because it's their prime.
Well, I've heard a lot of comments over the years that it's very restrictive having that 18 foot with the size of
It really is.
a lot of the things that are out there, and I think this would be a good thing, especially since they're normally out in the country anyway.
Is 28 feet enough? How did they come upon this height?
Just by going off of the equipment or, I mean, that kind of stuff, just knowing how tall they are. It's just that part of research, but some of this, well, this one actually did start when Chad was still here. They were kind of discussing it at that time. He did.
Do you have additional changes you want to show us, or we good on this one?
Just to in line, so what is outlined in red originally was 18, now it's just gonna be 28 if approved. So we have that for the R1 and R2. And then we'll have it in the R3. Those were the only ones that were stated in our bulk requirements for 18 feet.
I'll make a motion to accept you.
Second. Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, now we can discuss the WECS moratorium, which is for wind turbines.
So in
I'll
that,
let you do it.
okay.
You're the one that told me to put it there.
So in that one, it does also state to update the comprehensive land use plan. That project has been started, however, when pulling the information from the US Census Bureau, roughly 2 days after we had probably completed all of the tables with the updating, that's when Trump ordered that there's only male and only female, and so we're kind of in the gist of trying to get that figured out, and also with the race, we're running into some questions about that because there's no Hispanic or Latino that shows in our comp plan, so it's like that class isn't even acknowledged in our comp plan.
And it should be.
So
because-
we just have some things that we need to get worked out for kinks and whatnot too. So I don't feel that we'll be able to get it completed before this moratorium is up. So therefore I'm asking.
Well, I would rather just have our comprehensive plan complete and thorough than try and rush it through. So with the moratorium, my recommendation is we extend it one more year to allow the Planning and Zoning Commission to thoroughly work through the comprehensive plan.
I think there's pending legislature trying to restrict it to 6 months in total, but I agree. It needs to be a
That
year.
that pending legislation got squished.
Good enough, thank you.
So I would like to have someone make a motion to do that.
I make a motion to extend the moratorium for another year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You don't need a roll call on that, do you?
Let's do one just in case,
Kurt's
because I
aye.
think I need to do a resolution.
Wheeland, aye.
Vogel, aye.
Okay, set public hearings for zoning requests.
Hang on. In my paper.
Amber's been busy.
Amber's gonna fill up our agendas. That's good.
Opportunity
Exactly.
on board.
Okay, so Amber had sent three zoning requests that need hearings set. I set them for, I don't even know without looking, March 31st. The first one was Joshua and Christy Coons, and that one will be at 9:15. The second one is Clayton Brothers LLC, March 31st at 9:25. And the third one is Chris Cameron, and that will be March 31st at 9:35.
I make a motion that we set the public hearings for March 31st, at 9:15 for Coons, $925 for Clayton Brothers LLC and $935 for Cameron.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next on the agenda is claim process.
Well, that's me. It had been kind of brought to my attention that the process was being questioned on how department heads complete the claim forms for the accounts payable. And so I just wanted to clarify that all department heads are given the same form to complete. And obviously, no sales tax, no late fees, must be an original invoice attached. On that claim form, they put in the vendor information, they put in like the customer number, the account number, invoice number, and a brief description of what is being purchased or what it was for. Like I said, every single department head uses that form. Once it comes to our office, we go through them. If we question them, we reach out to the department head just to get verification. There's a limited amount of characters that can be used in our financial software. So if for example, me, if I buy Post-it notes, pins, a whole item of things, that's listed on the claim form. However, in the financial software, there's not that much room. So it's generic as office supplies.
Additionally, there's always that backup receipt that comes along with it.
Correct, that itemizes everything out. If you folks ever have any question regarding of that, you're always more than welcome to bring a big old tub of claims in and go through them. You're welcome to ask me any questions or Ann any questions regarding them. So that way it may give you a better idea than what the report is printed, because like I said, we cannot list everything out that may be purchased into the financial software for the report you guys get. So is there any questions regarding that or the process?
I don't have any bits.
Okay,
And I have gone in and Ann has pulled them up and let me look through them if I have a question, so
yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Good time to listen to some music and watch them.
That's all I had on that.
Public comment on the YouTube channel.
I got a few requests about the YouTube channel saying that folks wanted to be able to submit their comments on it. And apparently we've got it limited for some reason.
We have it blocked, actually.
Okay, and that was the question, why is it blocked? And
We don't want it to be opened up and become like an independence speaks type thing where you get all these trolls on there with unlimited comments and no monitoring of it. It's out there as public information for the general public. If they have questions or comments, they can contact any of the three of us and we'd be happy to explain whatever transpired, but we don't want to set up a bunch of drama. And there is not a county in the state that I'm aware of that publishes their YouTube that opens it for comments.
If you open yourself up for comments, you could also be opening yourself up legally, because if there's some extremely rude comments, you can't delete them, especially the ones with nasty words. Because then it
There's
becomes a freedom,
liability.
you either have to allow it or you have to disallow it, so we disallowed.
so there's a liability.
Yes.
There's a
and
liability
we
and
went through with Jason when we set this up originally, and he said it's an absolute no-no to do it.
Interesting. Okay,
And there's nothing in code that requires it. Currently, the only thing in the code of Iowa that you're required to have a virtual meeting where people can join in. But as far as allowing comments on something like that, there's nothing in the code that states you're required to.
We put this in place over a year ago, so the general public can actually watch our board meetings and participate without having to be here. And they can do it at their leisure and pull it up on YouTube. There's no requirement in Iowa law that we publish those. The virtual reality thing we have to do, but we don't have to record it.
But that's only for members. That's only for members. It's not for the general public, actually. You do it for the general public.
Is there anything that allows the restrictions of this? Allows us to.
I don't understand what you say.
You just explained it.
I asked.
You can explain it any different.
Allowed us to restrict the speech.
Us.
Okay.
And I believe I forwarded you guys the email from Sean.
Yeah.
I did reach out to him regarding the legalities of this. And he basically said there's absolutely no requirement that you have to, number one, host the recorded meeting, or number two, allow a public comment.
Did you understand his response?
Yes, I did. Did you?
I did, but I'm asking you, you're questioning me, and I just wanted to ask.
Okay. Thank you.
I think it's frivolous. Okay, Board of Supervisors, evening meetings.
Had a bunch of requests to have evening meetings. What are your thoughts about this?
All of our employees are here during the day and I'm not gonna pay employees overtime to come in for an evening meeting.
Are you a salaried employee?
But she still earns comp time.
Yep, salary employees are in comp time, so then you're actually paying them.
Okay. Are there times that we can meet in the evening to hear people? A lot of folks are.
You can meet with whoever you want to in the evening.
But you don't want to, I guess.
If somebody calls and want to have a cup of coffee in the evening, I will go and meet with them
Yeah.
gladly, but I'm not gonna set up a meeting for that. I'm not gonna,
We're not gonna have, yeah, okay, so you don't wanna have repetitive evening meetings with Board of Supervisors?
no, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary because our business is done during the day with people here during the day.
I think if you were at the ISAC conference and happened to discuss with other supervisors what they do in their counties, you would not find anybody that does evening meetings.
I think the question became, because most people work during the day, unless you get a day off from school or something to that effect, it's difficult for a lot of people to get time off for this.
Why do you think we televise them on YouTube?
Because I think under your description, that is a lack of participation. I'm trying to include their participation.
Why do you say there's a lack of participation?
Because we're not allowing people to speak into the description, into the broadcast.
And there again, Keith, I will reemphasize that if they have a question or comment, they can certainly reach out to any of the three of us and we'd be happy to discuss it with them.
But not necessarily with the Board of Supervisors in
If they,
If they cannot make the effort to be here, they will have to reach out that other way. I don't want to upset the entire county staff by having to rearrange their schedules to participate in an evening Board of Supervisors meeting. We went through this when we were going through the town halls with the WECS ordinance, which caused a lot of schedule interruptions, but we did it in the interest of having good public comment and public discourse. But on regular basis for Board of Supervisors meetings, I think that is ridiculous. They know when our meetings are. They're welcome to watch it on our live stream, or they can watch it later at their leisure on the YouTube channel.
I don't see a 2/3 vote here allowing this, so sounds like the issue.
You're pretty much right.
Okay.
I have a motion that we disallow that.
so moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Either you a nay or a no vote.
No vote, no vote whatsoever.
Good, okay. MHDS retention pay. This is
Confusing.
very confusing.
I've reached out to a lot of auditors regarding this, and I do know that we are the only region that is doing.
Thanks, Amber.
Wait, we are the only one?
Okay, I haven't found anybody else that has a clue what I'm talking about when I ask for guidance.
VICS.
Which one- Where are they out of? What?
VSS is Cop. And CICS is, I think most of them are, honestly.
Okay. Okay, well, the ones I reached out to didn't,
Okay.
which is fine, and I'm not against it, I'm not saying we can't do it, we just need some legal guidance on it. And I know this went in effect February. So I'm hoping this week we get some guidance so this can be addressed. I did send you guys the email that I had received from Carla regarding it. Carla Becker out of
I
Delaware.
think I have that one.
It came in Friday.
Oh, nope, I don't have that one.
Sounds like they're reaching out to get a legal opinion on this.
Yeah. So, and I can forward this to you, Julie. From my understanding, she reached out to the region's attorney regarding it. And then they are also reaching out to Mike Galloway, which is Ehlers and Cooney HR today. Well, he's supposed to be back in the office today. The thing that they are questioning is, can the county, because you guys are county employees, can we legally allow a retention pay? I know we get reimbursed from the region.
Right.
But there's that little fine area there. So basically, they're saying just hold off until they get this legal guidance.
And the region's attorney had said we could, and HHS has said we
Mhm.
could, but that's as far as I know.
Yep.
Because I know it was, I think all the regions are doing it.
I
Some,
wonder if it just hasn't come forward to some of the auditors yet.
It's-
There was only about 10 of them. other
it's
than
possible, I think,
that reached out to.
yeah, that's one I just heard an amount, it was
Okay.
3 times as high, I think. And I know that they talked about it with HHS to see about it and the region attorney, and I thought Deb, our financial person, I thought was going to talk with all the auditors, and I'm not sure what happened.
I have not
She
spoken with
was-
her, and I know.
She had sent an email to schedule with everybody, and then I think something happened that she didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Cause we're kind of removed from it, and
Yeah.
it's been Deb and May with the attorney and everybody, so.
Yeah,
From the discussion we had at ISAC last week, May and the other 3 directors. Is that the right term to call them directors? I don't know.
I think so.
Anyway,
It works.
they
CEOs.
discussed it and they're of course all pushing that it goes until at least December because the way bills flow in.
That would be some staff stay on until December to.
Correct.
Yes, and that's what,
That's the big crux of this retention pay, who's paying that? I think,
the region is paying it,
kind of,
and
maybe.
no.
I don't know if it's really set in stone yet.
No,
yeah.
the region is
The
paying for
region is
that.
paying it.
Yeah.
It would be included in the fourth quarter payments,
Yeah.
the fourth quarter prepayment, it would include that. Deb just sent me to look over ours for the fourth quarter.
Okay,
And it would include the, amount for all of them. I know of a couple counties that have paid, but I know some others that, in our region, others that are waiting. I think Lyndon Johnson maybe did, and some of the smaller ones are still waiting on some more clarification.
and then there's also been, yes, you can, no, you can't, last I heard, you can withhold the taxes, but you can't withhold IFRS. There's a lot
And
of
that's
gray
where I
area
thought
there.
Deb was talking with you, because I
Mhm.
thought it was not IFRS, but it was
Taxable.
taxable,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think it's considered income for IFRS.
Correct, it's retention pay, so like a bonus. You know, by law, can we give a bonus?
They said we couldn't do a bonus, but we could do retention because of needing people to stay to finish the work
Right.
Mhm.
So it's
and
not-
pick up cause I think right now, at least they're not all official, I think for sure 5 resignations are going, and they're continuing to come.
It would be,
But-
it would be almost like a longevity pay, in a sense.
I don't know.
I mean, it's
How
not
do
gonna
you-
be a bonus.
They said either they could call it a retention or a,
I think in
Something
the,
else.
documents that May handed out the last time she was here, they wanted it paid out and calling it supplemental pay.
that I don't know
I
anything
think
about how.
I'm-
So
Yeah,
the supplemental or retention, I can't.
yeah, it's, a play on words one way or another. And so as soon as we can get figured out what the legalities of it is, then the board can make formal approval. And I think the easiest way for us to set it up is in payroll is we're gonna have to create a separate line item for just to track that specifically and code it to take the proper taxes out and not the IPERS pay.
Now to think about it, I know for sure Lynn did, so I don't know if they would have any guidance. 'Cause
Okay.
Lynn County, because I know one of the staff that I oversee said they had theirs. They might know more about the tax when it gets to that point,
Okay.
but figuring out the other. So who would decide the legality of it?
Well,
I
I
don't
think
know who the region attorney talked to.
all that I know, this is the only part that I know, is all that I know is Carla reached out to the region attorney and then they are hoping to speak with him this week because he was out of the office last week and gets back in today.
I think from the county standpoint, we're very supportive of doing whatever we can to retain and have people, but it's all the legality
Let that be right.
questions.
Yeah, yep, that's all it is. And I would like to get it, hopefully we get it resolved as soon as possible because we're gonna be through March before something happens with it. And so we're already looking at 2 months of retention pay for these employees.
What happens if we had somebody leave? I don't want to say anything else yet, but I put a letter in here. Once they leave, before it's
Technically,
figured out.
You know, I don't know, technically I would say because it went into effect February,
Don't.
that they would have to get their retention pay up and through the date that they leave. That would be my
If it's not
opinion, but
figured
I'm
out,
not an attorney.
If it's not figured out before they leave, then,
That's a good question, Mike.
and that can be figured out later. It'll be on a future, it'll be on an export time.
I am truly hoping Monday this is back on the agenda for approval. That's my goal.
Figure out what's.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that came up at the last regional meeting is we were awarded the disability access point, so that it was like, how does that work if some people stay on? And the board recommended that it continue. We don't know how many or who's gonna stay on. The meeting with HHS with that was kind of eye-opening. And even if some people do stay on, it'll be taking on the work of all of the people that have left in order to maintain this one while also at the same time get a new system in place.
So they did approve your disability access
The
point?
disability access point, which is a total of $3 million. So it will save some staff, but
We're very limited.
it's, right, we don't know yet how many staff because it's a combination of staff and then paying for short-term services and supports.
Right.
So
So you get to keep your office here and,
we don't know,
We don't
we don't
know
know if
where.
we can afford to have office space because it's $262,000 in admin to cover 14 counties and 1 million people. And so then there's service coordination, options counseling, information and referral will be the majority of what is done, but then there's also short-term services and supports for population groups that we've not served before, so don't really have a good idea of what the cost will be. So that's all trying to get figured out. We have not signed it yet, because they did not want to, working out the financial part of it, they wanted to treat it like a provider and we would get paid after providing a service. But we would have no money to start with to pay the first 3 months until we got paid from them. So they are looking at doing some payments in July for like almost like a startup, and then they'll be paying. So there's a lot of uncertainties and it has not been signed by the governing board yet because there's so many uncertainties.
Good. It doesn't need.
That's why I wasn't here last Monday. I went to Des Moines with May. She asked a couple of us to go and meet with HHS. So, it's kind of being built as we go, and we have 3 months.
Mhm.
We have it in place and contracts and everything ready to go for the people that do stay with the DAP. It'll be finishing out the business here, but also building that new system. So it's working.
your involvement in this, because it's gonna be a nightmare, I think.
So
Sense.
No, it'll be better.
the first 3 months, not having any money for services, then that all falls back on the counties until they can get
That's, we
reimbursed.
shouldn't sign it if they wouldn't agree, because we know it can't fall on the county. So the region would not have signed it if they didn't agree to something different.
Okay.
They said they cannot prepay for a service. We didn't realize that they were looking at this as just a service and not, like the region, we provided a service, but it was also a lot of payment to providers. And so
Right.
they did come back with a compromise of, I don't remember how they're calling it. They aren't calling it startup. They're basically almost paying 2 months up front and then reducing the monthly fees after that. So it will be a tight financial it'll have to be some really close monitoring. It'll be tight until any other additional revenue might start coming in. So it will be an adventure.
Yeah,
So it has not been discussed with governing board one after the meeting and to see the contract. We just got the contract and met with them to determine it. So I can give you more details.
Thanks, Julie. We'll be calling for you guys to get her figured out.
Thanks. We'll get there eventually, one way or another.
It's really hard to look at all the 20-year plus employees that we have at the county that are in jeopardy of losing their employment.
We just have to,
Upsetting some lives.
yeah, just have to hope that it will be better for the constituents is what we're hoping for, so.
Thank you.
And we meet with the ASO on Wednesday, so, I will have some more information after we meet with them.
Very good.
that'll be interesting.
Okay, that's all of our agenda items. Oh, yeah.
Please, regarding the YouTube channel. Just to document for the minutes, would you guys like to make motion on that? So I have it for the minutes. And then if it needs to be brought up again, we add it to agenda and go forward.
Certainly. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion that we do not allow comments on the YouTube channel, because it does open us up to potential lawsuit in the future.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Okay.
Opposed?
Nay.
So you'd like to open us up to future lawsuits?
Yeah, that's.
No, this was first amendment rights is,
And that's not skipping First Amendment rights.
that's your opinion.
That's also a legal opinion. So you have something different than that, you can go talk to our county attorney.
We just talked about it here.
Yep, I wish I was so smart.
Me too.
Okay, now I can open up the public comment. Got some good attendance back there. Any comments?
I got a comment.
Sure.
The last Senate Final 376, trying to take away counties' rights to local control. The Board of Supervisors have an organization, and let me backtrack a little bit. About 15 years ago, Iowa State did a study, and our rural population is dwindling. The jobs are in the urban areas. The subcommittee, or Senate File 376, 2 people from Polk County. They have no clue what the rural counties are like. Is there an organization, or could the Board of Supervisors create an organization like we did in schools? I don't know if it still exists, but we had the rural schools of Iowa. Because the urban 8, Waterloo, Cedar Falls, Des Moines, they don't have a clue. They run the show because they've got more population. So I would suggest somehow the Board of Supervisors would create an organization such as that represents the rural schools, because we almost had this legislation passed. And it's not good for rural counties. And we don't want our rights taken away.
And it's gonna be brought up again.
And we were promised that it's gonna be brought up.
ISAC does have a group that is working on that. And we've got 2 excellent lobbyists that work for us that were working really diligently on getting that slashed because, the counties, actually, I mean, we have counties that have populations as low as 5,000 people in our state. And we're fortunate, we're almost 21,000, but, and we're what, 33rd,
We're number 30.
number 30 in the state in population. So we're kind of in the middle of the road type of thing. Those counties need a voice also, so ISAC is kind of our vehicle to do those things, and they are working really hard on it.
Good, because like I said, we don't want Polk County.
Local control is a big deal.
Yeah.
You see all of them coming out of Polk County and Story County, Dallas County. You get overwhelmed by these major metro areas, and they have a whole different set of circumstances there.
Also, we're asking for is equal
Yeah.
representation.
Exactly. A good question.
Thank you.
Chris,
The moratorium that was voted in, does that take effect on today's date, or does that take effect at the end of the first moratorium?
good question.
We didn't list it.
I would say in the minutes, I will put in that it was voted to extend it for another year, and we'll take off from the date.
That the old one expires.
Really didn't.
For some silly reason, I wanna say it's May 10th. I don't know why I remember that. And so it will, going forward for one more year. But I'll pull the whole thing up again and put it in the minutes.
Thank you. The frightening thought about that legislation they had going, it would eliminate all those moratoriums and any ordinances that we have put in place. So it really puts the heavy hand on the local control.
Yeah, it would have pulled like all of our setbacks, it would have pulled all of our CSRs, it would have pulled everything.
Yeah.
All the stuff we worked on. For 2 years.
Yeah,
For
exactly.
2 years, yeah.
Good question.
And the thing to remember, that only gave us so much land. So we use that and abuse that and take that away.
Right.
And I don't know if you saw last week in Nevada, 2 turbines were brought down. And we still don't have good decommissioning plans for a lot of these counties and these companies. And where does that fiberglass go? Where does the dust from the cement go? I mean, how many years, for example, like Mechanicsville, how many years is it gonna be before that's a viable farm ground? Or will it ever be again?
Remember that those big concrete bases for those wind turbines, the top 4 feet is all that goes away, everything else remains. So it's pretty frightening.
Leaching in our waters and these things, so.
Comment, anything else?
Independence, solid waste. We're talking about leaving the 2080 agreement. Do we want to talk about that?
No, because that's not happened yet.
It
You
is
have to vote on that tonight.
not on the agenda. It's going before the city council in Independence tonight, I think.
Yeah, and you have nothing to do with it until after they're done with it.
That it's disturbing because we could lose our transfer station because of that. Since waste management is the single largest waste hauler that we have, and they run the transfer station. It'll be up to what the city decides to do,
Mhm.
but it will be financially devastating if they leave the waste management contract because they are the biggest contributor to it.
I have one thing, and it's just a little FYI. So last week, all the proposed tax mailers went out to property owners. In case you get questioned, because my office did get questioned regarding the City of Independence. Give you a little background. The budgets had to be in proposed tax notice by March 5th at 4:30. After that, the county auditors could pull the information to start composing the mailing. City of Independence published their property tax notice with the hearing. on March fifth.
Was that their max levy?
No, we don't have max levy.
No max anymore.
This is it's the same hearing that we're having next Monday at 8:30. It's the proposed notice. So they published theirs March fifth at a tax levy rate of 20.64424. So after they sent that to the paper for publication, they went back into the Department of Management and lowered that, which legally they can do. So the tax statement that came from the county that includes for city residents, the proposed tax rate is 19.63340. So what that has done is, if these notices are not confusing enough for the taxpayer, we have city residents that had seen it in the paper at 20 point whatever it is. But the notice that I sent, because they went in and changed it, was at 19.6. So it makes me look like I didn't do my job. But what happened was they had sent everything to publication. I'm sure the reason they did that is because you cannot levy any lower than what you publish. So they published at a higher rate, just in case they need to go in and raise it back up to the 20 whatever from the 19.63, which I'm assuming that's what their target is. So if you folks get anybody questioning that, please direct them to City Hall or the city manager. But
And I
that
think-
created a lot of phone calls while I was gone.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions about that.
Well, and I thought that the city manager put a really, really good deal out there, under the independence page. Not Independent Speaks Freely either, that regular independent city page.
I
haven't seen it.
So I get a lot of questions about that too. How do you comprise that 16 or 17% rate? Is that a combination of all the school districts in the county and the city, or how did you put together that number or those numbers?
The 16, what's the 16?
I didn't see a 16 on mine.
Might be in another county at this point, but how did you comprise those tax rates?
It's the combination of what you guys are levying for the general supplement and the rural services.
Does that include any of the cities or any of the? school
Absolutely
districts? Okay, thank you.
And then the cities and the schools will have their own.
The
Each
cities
school
and the
district
school
will have
districts are on top of that.
And then there's, if you flip the letter over, it actually shows you what percentage we are as far as, like it'll say the schools is taxing at 40%. So 40% of the whole, of your whole tax goes to the school district. Like 38 goes to the city, 16 goes to the county, and 7 goes to everybody else. So it tells you the percentage, where you're at. So your biggest spenders of those taxes is your school and your city.
And the county level will also include the Pioneer Cemetery, the tuberculosis minimal tax and things like that, so. But it's the exact same figures that I presented to you guys where we were going up. I don't remember. Overall dollar amount was like, for the county was like 460,000. But as far as the levy rate, it was like 0.3 something.
Yeah, I remember looking at that 46,000 and thinking there was about a 4.6% increase. In fact, I think you did the calculation right next to me. Didn't realize that you were doing the same calculation. But
It's not a 4.6% increase.
it is
Oh,
not.
here.
And that's my
Yeah,
question. That's how did we get to this next number? So it sounds like that's your answer.
I can pull it up here to give you the exact.
Taxes are always an interesting discussion.
So, overall, between the general basic, general supplement, and the rural basic, the tax levy from 25 to 26 is an increase of 0.1387. A total dollar amount increase of $451,401.29. That's on that spreadsheet that I sent back in February.
Thank you.
Which I
I
think
guess in summary, without property taxes, we have no money.
You have no public service, you have no
We
secondary.
have no services.
And according to the proposed property tax legislation reform, this could all be changing again if it passes.
Yep.
And will we have some confused taxpayers when that
At
happens?
least if that new thing comes out, maybe we won't have this extra little mailing letter that they send out.
We will
that
not.
confuses
House
everybody.
File 718 will go away. But kind of like it was just explained to us down in Des Moines this week. To me, it's just a play on figures because they're taking away the rollbacks. So
Except for ag.
the values will continue to go up. And then you're gonna, instead of switching from levy amount, your required levy amounts, whether you can increase or decrease, it's going to dollar amount. So it's really not any different.
You're allowed 2% growth, except for on new, I think you can,
Add in new construction.
except for new construction. New construction is different, which is not, I mean, at least the way House File 718 reads is any growth is not allowable pretty much as far as taxable valuations go. Well, so you have somebody that's building a housing district and so you're gonna get whacked because you might have a 6% growth because of all these new housing districts that went in, or this new manufacturer that built on. And then they knock you back down to either 2 or 2.5% of total growth. Even though you've had to put infrastructure in and do whatever you need to do to get it.
And instead of our taxable valuation, you're gonna be
It's gonna go off your assessed valuation.
assessed valuation.
Which will drive levy rates down.
It'll drive the levy rates down, but it's gonna be a shock to people's systems.
Yeah, when they get their
First.
statement, it's because of the
Yeah,
rollback
rollback.
that takes it back, yeah. Times.
It's gonna be fun.
Mhm.
And I don't know if they'll ease that in over a period of time. I was talking to
Nope.
Lucas. I said, "Do they ease it in or are they gonna just rip the Band-Aid off?" And he said, they've had discussions both ways.
I don't.
Yeah. that doesn't seem like a good-
What does that do to market value?
Good question.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that's gonna be,
Your assessed value is gonna be a lot closer to market value, I got feeling. Just from,
right, and if somebody doesn't have anything done for years, you know, they've lived in a house for 25, 30 years, which doesn't happen in a lot of the young people today, but most people have never moved out of their
Right.
home
Mhm.
in 50 years. So their market value is gonna be a lot different than that assessed if they haven't done anything. So, wow. Yeah. I'm glad I'm not in real estate anymore.
say we have an open position for assessor, but,
Be on the list first.
they get accredited. Okay, anything else for public comments?
While you folks were at ISAC last week, I met with the Buchanan County Substance Abuse Council, and one of the topics they brought up was kratom. I never really heard of it before, but I guess it's very addictive. It's a dissociative and things like that. So I'm gonna send some information on to you folks to consider a county ban or taxing it after a minimum value. Of course, haven't reached out to the attorney yet, but it's very addictive. So encourage you folks to read up on it and maybe we talk about it.
Anything else for public comments? If nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
We do have a gal here that talks about master matrices and defending them. Do we want to talk about the master matrix? We have the opportunity and have all the right people here about whether or not we need to be included in this next year.
We always need to be included. Why wouldn't we be included?
Well, that's my question. Does it add additional constraints to the farmers or does it actually add value to the folks as a whole?
Yeah, it's gonna add value to the folks as a whole, because you can't not do it. We have to know how much manure is going into the ground.
We can opt out of our portion though. The DNR still has their statutory requirement.
I believe if you opted out of the master matrix, and I will speak for the ag producers, I can't think of any egg producer in the livestock industry, but if they're required to do the master matrix, they're 100% on with it. But a whole as the county, if you choose not to accept master matrix resolution, say someone comes up and wants to put up a 7,000 head facility, and yep, they go by our zoning requirements, but you have surrounding community members that are up in arms about this, there's nothing you can do to assure those residents that they are following the proper procedures, which is set up by the DNR.
So the DNR is still enforcing those rules, though, even if we weren't to accept the master matrix?
That I don't know. I can't speak for them.
Now,
Yeah,
as a consultant, you know, I'm gonna side with you. I mean, I think counties should have the master matrix because, I mean, it does give you some actual assistance with it, along with the DNR. Because I think that it does make it better for your county because you're gonna have a little extra control. Because it's gonna give the producers, they're gonna have to have additional setbacks in order to build their facilities because they have to have so many points to get through the master matrix. And I think that's a good thing because we're supposed to be good neighbors to our neighbors, okay? And my family farmers, they are good neighbors. So, I agree with you. I mean, I think the master matrix is a good thing. I don't have any fault with the master matrix. But I do think that if we don't have the master matrix, then as a county, we don't have any say. And so I think, I mean, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, and I don't fault anybody for any county for not having the master matrix. But I do think that it's a good thing to have the master matrix in a county. Because then you do have, I mean, if like you say, if somebody put one up and it were too close to somebody, they could come in here and they could speak to their supervisors. And I think that that's important. That's why your constituents actually elect you. I think it's very important that, I mean, I think it's, in my opinion, and I'm just saying, in my opinion, I think it's very important that a county does have a master matrix.
do you have some examples on, what the county's role has assisted with in this process? I'm sure, for example, you said good neighbors, I assume presumably there's a bad neighbor.
There's always
Bad neighbor situation.
There's
that you can
always
think
bad
of?
neighbors. I mean, come on, we all know that there's a bad neighbor out there.
Yeah.
Right.
We're gonna have somebody out there. I mean, if their kids wanna throw crap in your yard, they're gonna throw crap in your yard. I mean, we all have somebody who's gonna throw beer cans in our ditch. I mean, it happens all the time. But then we also have these kids here who, they'll show up with their folks to a public hearing on their day off school. I mean, they're not bad kids. They're not gonna do things like that.
I'm just trying to understand, what are we saving the public from?
We're saving I mean, okay, so when you live in the country, you're gonna smell the country. So we're not gonna take away the smell of the country. That's never gonna happen. If we have a hog confinement, we have a poultry confinement, we have a cattle confinement, you're gonna still smell it because you live in the country. We can't take those odors away. However, we can be a good neighbor and we can make sure that we're not affecting any of your family events. That we know when you're having a graduation reception and we're not gonna spread around your graduation reception. And we're gonna work with our family farmers. Jeremy here, he makes sure that his neighbors' driveways are pushed out in the winter. Because he pushes them out before the snowplows can get there, before the county snowplows can get there. He makes sure his neighbors can get to work, okay? So we have good neighbor policies. I have good neighbor policies with my clients. They make sure that they actually talk to their neighbors and they work with their neighbors. It's just something that when you grow up in rural Iowa, that's the way you're raised, okay? And you know that you have to work with your neighbors. You have to be a good neighbor to them. You have to work with your neighbors and you always have to look after them. That's just part of being rural Iowa. You have to be proud to be a rural kid and proud to live in the country and, you don't have to worry about it. And I think that that's one of the more important parts of being from rural Iowa is being proud of being from rural Iowa. And that's the way we're raised and that's the way we're proud of. And I think that that's one of the most important things about rural agriculture. And like they were saying, we have to make sure that we're still paying attention to how many people we have in our communities and that people are always looking out for each other. We just always have to look at that. So things like this, I mean, it's not just agriculture. I mean, it's about your windmills. It's about everything else. We have to make sure that we're all working together and we're still a community at large.
Yes.
In support of the master matrix, the impact it has on water quality in the state of Iowa needs to be really heightened, the awareness, because we have impossible levels of nitrates and phosphorus and other things that are entering our waterways and affecting our drinking water and our wells. So how we do manure management plans and everything really does impact Iowa. And we've got a lot of impaired waters in the state of Iowa simply because of runoff problems. And the DNR is trying to do a really good job. And I think our producers are really trying very hard to follow through on what the regulations are. And I know Brian's had issues with certain farmers that have kind of violated some of the.
I want to use the term improper planning, or they just don't look ahead.
Yeah.
But when you got a feedlot that drains into the creek,
That's
the DNR gets, yeah, that's unusual. The DNR gets involved. Yeah, actually, it drains into the road ditch, which leads to the creek.
Which doesn't necessarily help or add to the inclusion of the county, but one of the things that Jeremy had said was, you know, this is my family farm. I expect it to be in a family farm for next generation as well. So that new good neighbor policy isn't necessarily anything new to our community, but yeah, I'm really kind of looking for what has the county saved the public from in these conversations. So I appreciate your input here.
I guess I'm wondering, where are you coming from with these questions? Like, I don't understand. I guess I'm not understanding why you're questioning this at all. Where are these questions coming from?
My question is whether or not we added value by including ourselves in this process, which could potentially add additional costs and additional time
So you're saying, okay, because
to our
the
producers.
previous board of supervisors got us into this,
Okay.
you know, as they should have. So are you questioning their knowledge then? I don't understand where all these questions are coming from with you.
For public conversation. I believe.
Oh, I guess half of me is wondering if you're just trying to say what everybody's done in the past has been bad policy. In some instances, because that's how this is coming across.
Okay,
And I mean, I don't know if you know that that's how you come across, so I'm gonna tell you.
I would say that that's your personal opinion.
Ooh, okay.
Thank you for your input.
Any other comments for the good of the cause here? I have a motion for adjournment, please.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.